In this video, we're going to be looking at the RSV Algari, which is part of the OMUA fleet. It has a diving bell, a submersible, and a rib, and is capable of high speeds for its size. So come along as we explore, and I'll show you some of the cool features. Here we are in the bridge of the RSV Algari, and the first thing that we want to do is set a waypoint to take us to the shipwreck here, so we can explore with the equipment on the deck. So just we have the engine on, and then we're gonna turn on the autopilot system and set the waypoint. There we go, and let the ship make its way there. It's going to take it 2 minutes, that's fine. And in the meantime, we'll take a little walk around the ship. So, starting with the rear deck here, the very back is the 9X AB rib. It's mounted on a quick release track, so it's very easy to move. And then it has a quick pair electric connector on the side to let you quickly and easily pair the vessel right there, pair the rib to the main vessel, so you don't have to load it up when you use it, which is nice. It lets you take it off to the shore or anything like that and kind of quickly get back on. Next we have the Lil Rove minisub. It has front magulls, it has a welder, and it's a single person submarine without capabilities for an airlock, so you're pretty much just in it to go down and explore. But it does have a depth hold with these propellers, which is nice, and it controls pretty well, so we'll see that. The next thing we have is the Deep 6 diving bell. So this diving bell has a door on the bottom and a compartment that floods, and then the top compartment here has a bed and seats, so you can easily bring this diving bell down and explore and have divers come in and out, and they'll stay at the depth without having to come back up to the main ship. And they'll also, I mean, in real life it would be pressurized, so you don't have to come back and experience the different pressure. And the very last thing we have here is the ROV, the remote operated vehicle, and this is controlled from inside, so you can actually explore the depths without getting your feet wet. You don't have to get into the water, you could just sit on the boat and take it down. So we could see the ship already stopped, so now we're on location of the shipwreck. So let's take a quick tour of the rest of the ship, and then we'll get back to exploring this the equipment on the deck. So from the top up, like you saw, we have the bridge. We'll get to operating it soon, and we have our crane controller here, so we'll use this to drop off the equipment. Here we have a research lab, so we have research equipment, computers, and this is actually the station to control the ROV. On the front deck we have a mini helicopter, which is perfect for just getting to shore, little rescue missions. This is a door that can take us to the deck, as well as this main door here. We got the board here with all the information of the vessel. We have the main thermostats here, little weather station. Here we got some equipment that's just easy to access and take. Next we have the cruise quarters, so we have a nice couch, TV area. We have the galley, and then we have two little cabins. As always, they have their own individual lights, so you can turn them on when you're inside your cabin. The rest of the lights are operated automatically with the player sensor. And then here we have the captain's room. so it's the biggest room. Has a nice king bed and a desk. And throughout you have these repair hatches, so you can fix the microcontrollers if there's any kind of damage. So now we're in the lowest level of the vessel, and you do see that there's these passageways throughout the ship. So these automatically close if there's any kind of water detected in the ship, and it creates sort of airlocked chambers, little areas that can fill with water. So if you had water filling here or there, it wouldn't spread to the rest of the ship. Here we have our infirmary with an airlock for decompression stops for the divers, the medical bed, a little supply closet with equipment, the engine room with the main breakers, 3 engines. There's a generator here that's controlled via a button in the bridge. Fire suppression system. And a hose system, so nice for putting out fires. Got firefighting equipment here, and all the engine controls and operations are here. You could also manually override the throttle and manually start the engines here, in addition to upstairs. I don't recommend it because you don't have steering, but it is possible to operate the vessel at a basic level from here. And then here we have an armory. So all of the vessels that I make now have this armory, or have armories, where you can get sort of weapons and equipment in case you have pirates trying to board you, or any type of other situations where weapons are required. But this is a research vessel, and the main point of it is to have research capabilities, but also the waters can be dangerous, so self-defense mechanisms and capabilities are important. So now that we're on station, let's deploy some of this equipment and take a look. So like I said, the rib, you can easily disconnect it as a slider track, and you can make your way away from the vessel and all that good stuff. Now it does have the summon feature that I talk about in other videos that I developed. This is one of my favorite features, just the fact that you can drive off in the rib and make yourself distant, and then still call the vessel to come to you. This lets single player playing, like you take the fast little rib, say you rescue someone, and then you want to call the main ship to come, and here it comes. So it makes its way to you, stops when it's in the vicinity, you turn this button off, and here we have it. Now we can easily pair it up. Now this works at distances up to whatever the radio is actually the antenna set to. So it depends on how much the radio is. This one I believe has the 1 kilometer radio antenna, maybe 5 even. So you would not worry about don't have to worry about it being too far. And it does go in a straight line, so of course if you have islands in the way, the autopilot will stop because it detects an island. So next up we have the Lil Rove minisub. So we're gonna bring the gantry crane over here. So we unlock it, turn it on, and we bring it over here. We turn the display up, see when we're over top of it. There we go. Now if you have friends, they could connect the ropes while you're in the control center, but since we're here by ourselves, we'll just do it. So this one has 2 bolt eyelets there, so we're going to connect to these 2 winches. There we go. And then we'll detach the minisub, make our way back to the crane. So first thing first, let's winch it in. There we go. And then we'll push this guy out. Hopefully we don't hit the rib too much, but we'll see what happens. Alright, and then we'll angle it out. it's gonna hit it, but let's see if it hopefully doesn't flip. There we go. Winch this out. Alright, perfect. So now we have to make our way back down there again. Disconnect the winches. See if we can do it from the deck, or we have to jump in. That's fine. We'll take one rope and bring it back here. That's how we have all these storages, and we also have storages up there. So this one would actually be better to put it right here for connecting it in again. So we'll check this thing out first. We'll have a separate tutorial for the Lil Rove mini sub, but let's take a look at what we can do from here. Displays, spotlights, okay, artificial horizon, and then we could gotta take a look here. Depth hold and depth hold. Okay, so we don't have depth set, but we have depth hold. So make our way down. I didn't fill any of the ballast tanks, by the way, so normally you'd fill the ballast and it would you'd get neutral buoyancy, but in this case we're just gonna kind of make our way down here and then set a depth hold. Right, may not have, yeah, there we go. It is finicky. This type of equipment cannot be operated in haste. You have to, like even now, the propellers are struggling to balance ourselves. But if we set it up like this, and kind of more or less in a straight line, and a little bit of a slow speed, there we go. So now we have ourselves oriented, and it's holding our depth. So we can make our way to the shipwreck over there. We start to see something. And that's without any ballast, which is nice. So you could make your way down here with 0 ballast and still make it. I just wouldn't advise it. Using the ballast is always right. So here we have it. We've made it to the shipwreck. Let's make our way back up to the vessel up on top and see the rest of the equipment. So the diving bell for this particular vessel, the way it's used, is you'll use the gantry crane to lower it into the water. And then once it's in the water, divers can take a cable from this winch, so they'll take it off the ROV and connect this winch to the top of the Deep 6 diving bell, right there. So when that's connected, you could go to this operations center and enable this, and now the feed will be coming from the diving bell instead of the ROV. The diving bell does have its own controls, or you could use the controls here if you have someone operating from up here. The ROV is quite simple to use. You disconnect this, chuck it in the water. You could use the other crane to do that. So of course we want to deactivate this guy and activate the jib. There we go. Guess I could have put the cable on earlier, so gotta make our way down here again. It has all these connectors. We attached to the winch. There we go. Perfect. Now we could just go disconnect the ROV. Now something cool that this ship has, it is a very tall and narrow vessel. So if you do notice it tipping like that, there is these little propellers on the bottom that will stabilize it automatically. Okay, ROV is in the water. Make our way here. So we're probably kind of glitching through and seeing the inside of the ship, yeah. but if we give it throttle and aim it down, okay, let's try backwards. That does it. Now again, this type of equipment, you have to be very easy with it, because it doesn't respond well to large movements. So it does work well, but you do have to be very gentle and not too throttle hungry. So we see that it's tilted downwards, which is good. Yeah, we see the sea floor. We'll slow down the throttle. Now the shipwreck is a little too far for us, but we're just spinning around. But you could easily operate this guy to find all sorts of things down there. Just have to be very, like anything. My creations tend to err on the side of being smart when you operate. They're not dummy proof, but if you're smart enough, you could find your way to use them very efficiently. And the last thing, now that we've checked out all the rest of the ship, is to check out the helm and the bridge. So I've just respawned the vessel, so everything's inside. Make our way here, turn this on. So we have our generator start override here. We could turn on our interior ship lights. We could disable our watertight compartment doors or lock all entries, which is if you have pirates or boarders that you don't want. Here's all our emergency alarms and flares. We have this large light outside that pretty much signals other vessels that there's an emergency going on, and you could launch your flares here. So I showed you this kind of quickly. We do have the autopilot system where you could set waypoints automatically. You could program in a delay, and you have a helipad and boat launch sensor. So these sensors, the way they work is if you set your boat to autopilot and say you take off on the helicopter, you turn on this landing sensor. And even if it's mid-route, if you fly over that sensor, the boat will stop and let you land, because otherwise you'll have a very hard time landing if it's in motion. Over here we have all of our ballast controls, our ballast tank, our listing, all that stuff. There's a watertight compartment in the front of the vessel underneath the helipad here that gives you that if you have a front end collision, it'll fill with water. I mean, it'll start letting water in. Now it doesn't have its own ballast or bilge pumps in that area, so you could release anything that's filling in the bow into the ballast tank and then pump it out from there. But my advice is to do that only when it's repaired. Otherwise, you'll just flood the whole ship. So again, you have to use some smarts. You can't just gung-ho and expect everything to work properly. You have to be a little smart with this thing. You have to be a good captain, that's sort of it. Here we have 6 cameras all over the vessel, including underneath. And some of them do have the zooming capabilities and night vision and all this stuff. You could choose to project it to the overhead, the captain or helm. So if we press this, now he's getting it. And we have the radio system here with the backup radio. Here's the trim. We have sonar. We have heading hold, all that stuff. That monitor's off because we have to turn on the radar, and then this thing starts spinning on the roof. The reason why I have it off when the ship's just sitting there is because it's wasting batteries if it's spinning around and maybe you're not using it. So this vessel does get a pretty good top speed for something this size and with the amount of equipment it has. Like, we're able to consistently get 40 knots, and even with rough conditions, let's say, it still is pretty stable thanks to these propellers that we have on the bottom. We may see them in action if we kind of go perpendicular to the waves here. All the lighting controls are here. Obviously, you turn on a ton of lights. I like more lights. Obviously, some computers can't handle all the lights, but the way I see it is turn on as many as you need, but I'd rather be able to have something where at night your thing is lit up like the lights of Manhattan. That way you could see everything. You're not like moving around in the dark and using your flashlight and whatnot. Let's see what happens if we stop now. So the waves are perpendicular and we've stopped. Just gonna turn off some of these lights. So here we are, we're listing pretty heavily. These guys are on and it's tipped us back. Now these are on correcting, but it's keeping us afloat. Now if we press position hold, position hold, now even the heading will be held via the thrusters. So even in the wind, you have all this stuff pushing, you have these guys working, and it's keeping it, it's a 4-dimensional hold. So in every direction, including heading, it's held. This is really important and really smart if you're rescuing a little boat. You can pull up next to like this, and even with the waves, it won't be, you'll still stay next to it. Let's see if we get swept off the deck here. So as with all my creations, my goal is to make something that's very useful. Let's bump it up all the way. My goal is to make a vessel that's functional and useful while still being relatively lag-free. Oh, here we go. So unfortunately, things like this will flip it all the way over. Now we'll see what happens if it rights itself. So at least it's not going up all the way upside down. If we turn on this position hold now, it should right itself. See? So I love when this happens. This is because I've tried balancing the vessels, and even as you use your diesel, it'll automatically fill your ballast to counter for any diesel you have. So at any given time, your balance should be well enough, especially in this thing because it's so top heavy and kind of tall and narrow. Even with all that, you'll still end up righting yourself, which is huge. Now there is also manual control for stability, so if you fully flipped over and your hull was facing up, you could use this and it gives you control of these little thrusters on the side, and in some cases there's thrusters mounted on the roof which kind of push you right way up. This one doesn't have that, but the stability is also pretty good on it. Obviously you have your night vision here, you have the calculator that tells you your range, all that stuff. So just like it kind of works with the, oh yeah, and obviously one or more engines have failed because we've been letting air into our air intake. So if we restart this, there we go, it's off. So yeah, it's a pretty utilitarian little vessel. Doesn't have a hot tub, doesn't have some of the luxuries that the other OMUA vessels have, but it does have all the capabilities and a high speed, which is more than most. So right now we have full wind and we're pretty good. We're just chilling in the direction of the waves. So anyway, I hope everyone's enjoyed my video. Stay tuned for more. Also stay tuned for some exciting updates on the OMUA Diving Academy. I've been working a lot on it and thinking a lot, and I'm about to show a new feature that I think everybody's gonna like. I'll give it a little hint right in this video. We'll see if anybody catches on, but pretty much we're gonna introduce sort of a ranking system. It's gonna be called OMUA Rank, and by completing challenges in the academy, you can gain yourself the rank of a captain. And then I may it may affect how you can use the vessels. I'll just say that for this video, and we'll get back to that with other videos as well. So stay tuned for more. Thank you very much for watching, for subscribing, for supporting, and hope to see you guys again soon.